Hello, and welcome back to New York Outcast. I'm here today to show you how I make my wax slugs that I use in my wax slug demo video. These are the items that would be needed to do such a thing. Not that I recommend you do. I would actually recommend you probably don't do this, but I'm just showing you what I do to save a buck and still get to have some fun as far as shooting 12 gauge. So typically I don't do that in my office. Although I did set it up today to do so, just so I can let you guys in on how I make them. I would start off as you're going to need something to heat the wax. Now, I have done this on my stove several times. I will warn you, if for some reason you try this and you attempt to do this on your stove, that you are careful. It's always better to be lighter than over. When the wax smokes too much, you're risking fire. So you really don't want it to start smoking. I'm going to use a hot plate today to do this, which I typically do down in my basement. So the lighting's not very good down there, so I'm doing it here today. Now I also have a stainless steel pan. This pan is one that I was able to sneak away, so that's another thing you want to keep in mind. It might be best to get yourself a separate pan, and I would recommend a stainless instead of something with Teflon or anything if you were to try this. So again, that's a hot plate, stainless steel pan, and then a fire extinguisher is always a good thing to have on hand, preferably ABC, so you're able to deal with the wax. Though I don't foresee a fire, and honestly I've never had one out of doing this for years. Another thing that's needed is wax. Now I used to purchase tea lights. I used to get them cheap at Walmart. I get a big pack of them. It works quite well. It seems to be a pain because you got to open them, pop them out, pull the wick thing out. Basically end up with something similar to this. And kind of a pain in the butt. But basically any paraffin wax works. I've recently switched over to purchasing the bigger blocks, which is used for canning, and this stuff works quite well too. Again, it's the paraffin, if I'm saying that right, wax. Non-scented wax, same if you get the tea lights. And so you're going to need wax. So however you want to come across it, they do sell big slabs at the craft stores. I haven't tried that route yet. At some point I plan on it to see if it's, a better cost savings, because obviously the whole idea of this is cheap. So, and so however you get your wax, if you were to attempt this. So I get my wax, and I also use a container. It can be any kind of container this is actually a CCI factory seconds container, but basically anything will work. Something that's not going to get messed around or put back out and cycled around your house. I wouldn't use a coffee mug or anything, because this I'm going to be using to actually put the shot in from the shotgun shells. So basically it's going to have lead in it. And I also use cutting instruments, which is typically a utility knife or an X-Acto knife. I usually use the X-Acto knife. It's a little slower, but it gets me in. I like, smoother. I like it better. And then usually hit my ring a little bit with this, which I'll show you what I'm talking about afterward. And that's to open up the shot shells. Some gloves are always good, because if you're going to get caught up in it and have to grab something, move something, or if I get, have to mess with anything else, answer the phone, it's best to just whip the glove off and be able to do so. And also something to get the wax out of the pan and in the shot shell. So I use a spoon. I just found this, which should work fine and shouldn't get in trouble for using it. And I also use any kind of store card, old card. It just helps when you're trying to lift wax off the table or cleaning the side of the shells if you spill any on it. So it's a good item to have, something like that. And also a smooth surface to make your cuts. and actually work on your shot shell when you're opening them up in the first stage. It's best to have something soft. Now, obviously, shotgun shells have primers, which I'm sure you all know, but you don't really want to be setting this down on something hard and pressing and working on it, because if you did so, and God forbid there was something on the table or whatever, you are at risk of detonating a primer. So I always try to use something soft to do so, just in case a pellet made it out and I didn't see it or something like that. It's always better to be safe than sorry. That's how I do it, and I haven't had any issues so far. And of course, last but not least, is you need some ammo. So basically 7.5, 8, 7, anything you pick up. Usually I get the blocks from Walmart, which I believe are 100 rounds, and were about $20, actually a little less. I think the last time I bought some. Now I think they're up to about $20. Get the Federal Target loads, I believe it is, and they work quite well. These are actually some reloads that I'd gotten from a friend for shotgun shells. So since it's a pump action shotgun I'm working in, I'm not concerned about it at all. But however you get your loads, you obviously need loads. So that's basically what's needed to get started. Alright, I've completed step 1, which was previously seen, which is getting everything together. Step 2 is actually cutting the shot shells. I got about 125 cut here. Basically what I do is I cut around the inside, leaving the rim, so it's almost like decrusting a pie, if you'll think of it like that. Where the creases are for the actual crimp on it, factory crimp, or these are reloads, so they're re-crimped down. I just cut the pieces of pie out and it leaves my edge. So I like the nice smooth edge, that way when shells butt up together, they're nice and even. I don't create any issues. So now sometimes the cut won't be perfect. When that is the case, then I switch over to a utility knife after I cut, dump. And if there's any kind of jagged edge or anything like that, I usually just try to trim it out with a utility knife. Therefore, it makes it easier when I dump the wax in, so things don't spill and get all over the place. Now, these aren't perfect cuts. They don't have to be perfect. I just try to get them as open as I can without disrupting the integrity of the sidewalls or the rim here. So that's basically step 2, is getting them all cut, set out, and basically getting ready to heat my wax and pour, which will be the step 3. I did run out of room in this container for shots, so I ended up sticking that in another container off camera here. If you're doing an amount like this, you probably want a container about 5 times that size. Now, granted, I like this container because it's easy to pour some back into the pan as I need it, which I'll do when I'm actually heating the wax. I do that for the reason that the room temperature shot put into the warmer wax tends to make it want to cool quickly. So if the shot's heated a little bit with the wax, then it makes it more pliable for me to actually scoop and fill. And that way it all kind of seeps together, dries in together. Okay, back with you again. I finished with stage 3, which is filling the shot cups with the wax. Basically, I didn't do that on camera to prevent any issues with any of the platforms, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You would just, basically what I did was pour in with a little scooper cup, similar amount of pellets that came out back into it with some wax in its place. I leave the pellets about 1/8 inch low and then seal the top with wax. I do that to make sure that no beads are sticking at the top, so as it's in a magazine tube, I don't have to worry about a premature detonation with them sliding back as I'm chambering them out. So if I was to put anything other than birdshot back in these, I recommend marking them. And when I mean mark them, I would say stick a piece of crayon in your wax. You don't need a whole crayon, and as it melts in, it dyes it. That dyed color then just right down to whatever you're mixing up with that batch. Now you can throw different things in. If you do, I recommend you weigh them. You don't want to go over, the 1 ounce mark. You can get I think it's 1 1/8 shells. If you get those still, I would be lighter, safer. Worst come to worst, or a little quicker, but you don't want to go over. Going over could lead to a problem with your firearm, and obviously you don't want to deal with that, or be a dangerous situation. So the next stage will be basically cleaning these up, and once I get these cleaned up, I'll show you the finished product. The last thing that was done was the rounds were cleaned up. Wipe the excess wax off the shells, wipe them down really good, and then I actually wipe them again with another rag just to make sure. That way there's no excess little bits of wax getting off in my magazine tube. So here are the complete 150 rounds. As you notice, some of them are lighter than others. That's due to the different wax. Some was tea lights, and some was the kerf wax, the wax that was intended for canning use. Still the paraffin wax. That's it's straight clear. There's no color at all into it. Apparently the tea lights, I do have a little bit of dye in it, which is a white dye, so it goes from light to kind of clear. Same type of wax, but since nothing else was added, there's not an issue with the color code. It's just how I make my wax slugs. There is other videos out there. Some of them I wasn't thrilled with. Some I thought were okay. And this is what's worked for me and what I've used. And I have done this thousands of times, or thousands of rounds, I should state, with not any problems at all. They tend to work great. Cheaper than $1 around for your standard slug. So just something to keep in mind. It does take a little bit of time to do this, but if you have some time to kill, it's a great way to make some ammunition to have some fun with. This is basically how I make my wax slugs that were demonstrated in my previous video. So thanks for checking it out. I appreciate it. Hopefully this might be helpful to some, and have a good day.